and this is not me, I don't care whether you guys respond to my stuff, but if someone takes the time, it's always good to acknowledge them for doing that. Okay, so whether you did that or not, it comes back to whether you said you would. So if you said you weren't, don't stress. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people that said they would. This week's homework, obviously determine your number, and I'll talk about this after we go through today's topic, which is financial independence and understanding financial independence and financial freedom. As there's a lot of dudes who are becoming dads in this one, I think this is probably a relevant topic, and it's not coming as financial advice. It's coming from a place of start thinking about these things for the long term. It's something that helped me back in 2014 get myself into a completely different position. Okay, and our monthly task, I did change that. I don't know why it hasn't uploaded, so it's not that. Our monthly task, I've got written down a few things that I'll be not emailing, but posting in the group. So we all good with that?
Yep.
Finally, did everyone get on WhatsApp?
Yep.
Cool. So I'm going to go to the next slide. I want everyone to pull out their phone. And if you're on your phone, I've posted this in the group. So maybe get it up on your desktop and scan the barcode so you guys add me so I can put you in your groups for this month. Right. We've got 5 groups of 5 this month. Then they'll be all, and I'll talk about that at the end. But if you can get on WhatsApp, that way I'll be able to connect everyone. There will be no excuses that you're not mates with these people or you don't have their numbers. I'll do all of that for you. And I'll be dropping in weekly questions and tasks to prompt you guys learning and growing. Cool. So
Nice.
I'll give you 30 seconds. Ooh, these are all popping through now. Boys. Technology worked way faster than I was expecting. I'm feeling popular. Yeah. All right, everyone's got it. Is there anyone still trying to do it?
Hey, you there, Lockie?
Yep.
Is there another way to do it if you're doing it all via phone, you're not on a computer?
Yeah, I've got it. Here, I'll just send you an invite.
Yeah, I can't do it on the because I'm not in I'm in a motel room, mate.
So we got Ian, and
Yes.
whoever can't, just let me know.
Yeah, good lucky.
Ian, Jace, who else? So just say your name.
Andrew.
I can only see the share. Andrew.
Toby as well, Lockie.
So we got Ian, Jace, Andrew, Toby. Anyone else?
Jim. I'm just doing mine now, buddy.
And Jim. Awesome. All right, so I've got 5 lads that I'll send you guys invites after. But apart from that, everyone should be good, yeah?
Yep.
Sweet, legends. All right, we've nailed that. We've done the formal official stuff. Sick. All right, gents, I'm going to post the questions in the chat here. So when I put you into the breakout room, so obviously first one being, anyone can take charge. It's no order. But just pass it on to someone else. So for those who are on here for the first time, the breakout room will give you 15 minutes, maybe. You're going to share progress you've made towards your 12-week game plan. For those like Gareth who are new and a few other people, if you haven't started your 12-week game plan, go to the 12-week game plan video in the circle, which is down under lessons. I'll show that, and just get started doing that. So share how you're going towards that. If you haven't done that, just say it's something that you're working on. One thing that you're grateful for, and choose either one good thing that's happened in your life right now and why it's good, or one thing that is not going so well in your life right now and why you feel it's going like that. Okay, just to create a little bit of conversation. Cool. So I'll put you in a couple of groups. So the questions are there in the chat feature, and I'll see you guys in 15. How many have we got? We'll go for groups of 4, so it should be 3 to 4 people in each one. And if you do finish early, just start discussing what financial independence means to you and your understanding of it currently. Cool?
Yep. Cool.
I was going to say, I love the SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, and time-based is how I work the SMART goal. For example, like I want to lose 3 kilos within 8 weeks. It's achievable. It's relatable because I need to lose weight, and I've given my timeline as well. So that's just an example. I love it.
Yeah,
With
awesome.
that too, you can nail the timeline down. So I went and said, okay, by this week, my target weight needs to be here, here, and here. So I have something to measure along the way, not just in 8 weeks, did I get there or not?
Yep. Yeah, it's got to be measurable. So in the new book, like in the updated version of the game plan, that'll be better, because essentially, if you look at the whole 8 areas, boys, it should be highlighting your weaknesses, right? It should be highlighting your blind spots, because a lot of us focus on what we're good at, as Gardy mentioned, right? It's very easy to go, fuck, I just want to be fit for the rest of my life. Cool. But if you're already doing that and that's a habit, what's the point of focus? Like, it should be a focus. You should set the intention, but the time's already allocated. Right? For those who've watched the game, the video on the game plan, it's where I talk about, like, if you go through the 8 areas, identify where you're weak, right? Most of the guys who come here is because we're mentally and emotionally not very good. Some people it's finances, right? We're fucking rat shit at. Some people it's our relationships or communication. Some people it is physical health. You're the only one who can identify what you're currently good at and what you're currently focusing on and what you're not. It would be stupid to keep focusing on the things that you're good at or the things that you're already making time to do. If you're not getting the result, but you're still allocating the time, and let's use gym as an example, because a lot of people do this. A lot of people walk into the gym with no plan. Right? They go in, they'll fucking look at this machine, they'll do a few reps there, they'll do a few lat pull downs, and they'll walk out going, yes, I hit the gym. No, you didn't. You moved some weight around, but there was no intention behind it. There was no plan moving forward. But I see that fucking every single day. Most people do that with their life as well. For those who are in a relationship, I guarantee you get home, you live with your partner, right? But there's no intention behind, let's sit down and actually see how our day was. Let's sit down and cook, or not sit down and cook a meal, but let's cook a meal together. You just fucking sit on the couch, scroll Facebook, watch TV and think you're spending time together. That's ridiculous. Same with work. A lot of people are just going through the fucking motions because you've done it so often. So every time you're like, when we go back to the and this is what I hope the really dumb one I've done will help, is it's like everything that you're doing on a daily basis should have intention behind it. Even coming on this call, if you're just coming on here because you've signed up for it and it's like, oh, cool, g'day, let's hope I can learn something. Come on here with questions, like pretty much, and Jim, thanks for bringing that up. Like, come on here with an intention of something that's not working well or something that you want to understand better, because then we can have the conversations that we need to be having. Otherwise, you're going to go through another week, another month, another year, and nothing's going to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we highlight, and this is why I would recommend all of you guys go back, and for those who are struggling with goal setting, go back and watch. It's in the inner circle under the 12-week game plan. Watch it and go, okay, of these 8 areas, which one, if I were to improve it, would have the most significant positive impact on my quality of life? Which one would it be? And focus on that, even if you just focus on the one thing. And then when we go to putting SMART goals in, everything has to be measurable. There has to be metrics and tangible things that you can track your progress, because one of the 6th point of change is reviewing and working out what's working well for you and what's not. That's why we operate in 12-week game plans, right? 12-week blocks, because it's enough time for you to commit to something to find out what's working well for you. And it's also enough time for you to pivot if shit's not working well, rather than going 12 months or 3 weeks like most people do and go, oh, it's not working for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So who's got a goal they're stuck with? And I'll quickly brainstorm with you, or we'll bounce off it before we do this finances thing.
Yeah, just on the goal, I was just saying in the group before, I was stuck with my last one, so I reached out to my partner last night and said, hey, you see me on a daily basis. I know there's a lot of flaws and weaknesses. Can you write a list? And so I've got to write a list. I'm going to pick out one of those things to add to it, which would be based around a relationship. So I thought that was kind of a good idea from my point of view.
That's awesome. Perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And you think about, and this might be where a few people get stuck. When we look at weight loss, we look at strength, all that sort of stuff. Numbers are there, like how much am I bench pressing? How much am I squatting? What do I weigh? Right? It's a metric you can jump on and check in on. Right? But when we're talking about maybe communication, maybe we're talking about feeling happier on a daily basis. How do you do that? Because emotions are a bit harder to make measurable or tangible. Does that make sense? So when you look at communication, Jace, I would have the conversation, or what? Sorry, not even communication. Whatever it is that you decide you want to work on, have a conversation with your partner and go, okay, how will we know that I'm making progress in this area? What will that look like? Because you need to paint the end goal. Does that make sense, Jen? So for you, for everyone on here, if you're not happy, or let's say confidence, right? Confidence is a big thing for most people. I want to improve my confidence in X. How will I know when I've achieved that? Give yourself something so that you know you've achieved it. So when you get that, you might feel like you're not making progress, you can pick up your goal sheet again and go, fuck, actually, I have been nailing that. I have been feeling confident. I have been taking more risks with that. So give yourself something that you can tick off, or it's a standard, and you have to create that, because some things are already there. There's societal standards and metrics and numbers, etc., which is easy. But the other things you need to give for yourself, it's taking ownership and creating it. And if you get stuck with it, post, call me or post in the group. I think it's better posting in the group, because if you're experiencing it, I guarantee there's someone else in this group that's experiencing it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
When you say post in the group, like, you mean in circles now?
Yeah, we're all fully on circle for the inner circle. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Does that make sense, guys? Does anyone else have any other questions around that? Otherwise, I would recommend watching that video again.
I'll put up a post to.
I think,
again.
Gareth, are you saying something? You're on mute, or were you saying something to your son? Oh, all good.
Sorry, just got
Sorry,
the kid in
Ian?
the background, mate.
All good.
So I'll probably put a post up and see what everybody's concept is on meditation, because I'm really hopeless with that. Like that fitting that time out to even 10 minutes a day. I'm just really hopeless with that. So I'd like to hear different people's outlooks on that and how they do it, how they achieve it. Because I know it'd be good for me, because sometimes I don't sleep well and things like that, because I probably aren't relaxed enough.
Yeah, and just quickly on meditation, guys. So think about this. What's your intention for doing it? Once again, every time you're setting a goal for yourself, what's the purpose or intent behind doing it? Meditation, for example, a lot of people feel they need to do because everyone talks about it. I talk about it. It sounds awesome. When you're going to do it, what's the intent? Is it slowing your mind? Is it to just sit with your thoughts and process shit? What's the purpose you're looking to get? Because otherwise you could be having 10 minutes of full non-disturbed time, but you're not feeling like you're getting value from it because it's not what you originally wanted. Does that make sense? So even for myself, I stopped meditating last Friday because I just wasn't getting what I wanted from it at the moment. And it's not because it didn't work for me. I just want something different for how I start my days at the moment. Okay, so make sure it just goes back to, once again, brainstorm around it. And if you want to try it or try anything, crack on for at least a month. But have an intention for what you're looking to experience or gain from anything that we're doing. Because otherwise it's just dead time and you can't track whether it's added value to you or not. And if you don't track whether things are adding value to you or not, you're going to lose motivation. You have to see progress to stay motivated. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. And if anyone has any questions, please just fucking shoot me a message, and then I'll even if we do a whole call on it next week or something, we can do that just to help everyone get super clear on it. Cool. But make sure every goal that you put, don't just put weight loss. Choose a goal and work back. What has to happen? You might say, I'm committing to the gym 5 days a week. I know what my basal metabolic rate is, my calories per week, and I'm going to eat just, have a 300 calorie deficit to achieve that. Get fucking specific. And if you don't know, ask questions. The person who has the most information or knowledge is power, right? And then it's implementing it. That's simple. The best way to get knowledge is to Google, ask questions, find people who have the results that you want. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that up, Jim. Legend. And like I said, if anyone wants more specifics around it, everyone should have my number now. So fucking just call me. All right. Cool. Let's talk about financial freedom, financial independence. The reason why I wanted to talk about it, obviously, this book of the month, 4-hour work week. Don't get caught up on trying to work a 4-hour work week. That's not the intent. The intent of this is to get us to start thinking differently about ways we can create more time for ourselves or that lifestyle for yourself. Because I felt we needed to do this because there's so many people who are becoming dads. And I'm not a dad myself, but I can only imagine that I would want some time with my kids when that opportunity comes. And some or most people statistically are fucking married to their jobs and they don't have the choice. They don't have the flexibility to be able to do what they want to do or spend time with their family. Does that make sense? So when I talk about this, take the context as it relates to you, all right? Don't just, I'll say things in relation to how I want to live my life, etc. But I trust that you guys are self-aware enough to go, okay, I can see how that could implement into my life and what I want. Does that make sense? Cool. So as we start reading through this, the things that obviously it talks about on the back is how to increase your wage, how to decrease time, and eliminate stuff that isn't really worthwhile you doing, so you can get time back. And one of the biggest things that I focus on with people that I work with, essentially when I work with businesses, is do they want to increase their overall profit, or do they just want to maintain profit and get time back? Right? What's most important for you and the lifestyle that you want to live, not fucking Joe Blow next to you. It's one of the most important things to think of. I've decreased my wage by about 35% on last year, but I've got more time back. And I'm okay with that. That works well for me. Because I was like I think a lot of people do, is trying to earn more money at the expense of time and choice and lifestyle. So I want to run you through some levels of finances. Once again, this is not financial advice. This is go do your own research and maybe think about where you're at in regards to this, and also where you want to get to. Some of you may already be there. Some of you may have no fucking idea, which was like me 6-7 years ago. And some of you may be well on track. And it doesn't matter where you are, because the starting point goes from when you decide that, right? But we've got level 1, right, which I think is the most important part, where we want to get financial independence. Sorry, that's level 3, but that's where we want to get to. But the first thing most people are living at is paycheck to paycheck. That is literally, if you were to get a bill come in of say $300-400, you would fucking panic. For me, I know even up until about 2017, I used to panic when I had to fucking fuel the car up. But I'd be putting $20 in instead of $50 or whatever whatever it costs to fuel the tank up. All right, so we're all, once again, that paycheck to paycheck. So in order to grow through that, in order to get above that, the first place to start is obviously making sure you pay off all bad debt, right? And for those who don't understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, a good place to start is reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Gives a good indication around that, because not all debt is bad. And actually listen to the podcast with Jim. Jim's a fucking guru at it. Okay. But then also making sure you have your emergency fund. So for those who have read The Barefoot Investor, for those who have read any of Tony Robbins' any wealth creation thing, they talk about having buckets for your money. So when your paycheck comes in, it may get auto debited to different accounts. So you have an emergency fund, you have a savings fund, you have your daily expenses fund, right? You have a blow on anything you want sort of fund. We'll call that your fund. Okay, so it's doing it before you even have the opportunity to go fucking bam, bam, bam and buy all kinds of stuff. It's in the back end, it's putting your money where it needs to go to get out of the situation of living week to week. Does that make sense? It was one of the, I still to this day, it's like one of the biggest motivators for me, because I remember checking my bank account, and the one thing I wanted, I was like, if I ever have $1,000 in my bank account, I'll be the happiest fucker you've ever met. literally, that was the most exciting thing for me. We then go to, so does everyone understand paycheck to paycheck? And obviously the first port of call is paying off any bad debt. So getting a plan in place to do that, but also having an emergency fund if one of those bills does come in, if your dog gets sick or your kid gets sick or you get a flat tire, you don't have to stress, you've got the money aside to do that. Secondly, where you to be working towards is enough money to quit your job for a bit. And when I say a bit, that could just mean you're taking a month-long holiday. So quit, or just like a sabbatical. It might be doing 2 months living in a country that you want. But so first and foremost, and it'll be one of the tasks, is what's that figure look like? And how you get there is by understanding what your overheads, so your expenses are weekly, daily, monthly, so that you can budget for that. Because if you were to think about this, if you were to lose your job right now, like a lot of people did through COVID, how long would you be able to sustain your cost of living? Would it be 3 days? Would it be 3 months? Would you be sick for years? Righto? So think about the sabbatical, the dream holiday. That's the next step. And that was my next step. Like I said, for me, it was just $1,000. That was like my next goal of getting away from living paycheck to paycheck, because that meant I could pay for fuel without stressing about it. And I could go for dinner without stressing about it. All right, so whether it's a sabbatical or $1,000, it doesn't matter, but we need to understand what that looks like based on your current situation. Or we don't, you do. Thirdly is obviously enough to be financially happy and still save. Now, this is probably, I believe, the point where I think most people would love to get to. Right? It's where you're saving money, you're able to live the lifestyle that you want. Obviously not super extravagant, but you're able to go for dinners, go for golf, all that sort of stuff. But you've also got a little bit left over at the end of the month. Does that make sense? So for me, I think that's, and statistically speaking, I think it's $70,000 or something like that. I'll check the Australian statistics, but it's somewhere around that $70,000 mark. That's where most people live stress-free, even though they think, oh, when I get to 100, 200, whatever, I will. It doesn't change too much in regards to happiness. Okay, you might be able to buy bigger cars, fancy as shit, but it doesn't improve too much. So we think about that, your savings, fun, extra left over. The next one, freedom of time. Freedom of time is hands down my biggest motivator. And the reason why is, once again, it may allow you to follow your passion. It may allow you to spend more time with family and friends. It may allow you to travel more. But I honestly believe what it boils down for most people is they want choice. And freedom of time provides choice. So, and obviously that flexibility with schedule. So when you think about that, that's for me what started making me look at how can I earn money through other ways, not just trading my time for money. Because the biggest drawback, and I remember when all my mates were starting to earn salaries, they were getting, what looked like good salaries, but then you saw they were at work from fucking 16 hours a day, and you worked out they were probably earning $16 an hour, rather than getting an hourly wage of $22 an hour, which I thought was worse than their big salary. So when we think about time, guys, and this, as I mentioned at the start, this is one of the things that I challenge most of the businesses that I work, or business owners that I work with, is that, are you continuing to want to drive your profits, right? And work harder, work longer hours, bring in more stress, because with more money comes more staff generally, or more overheads and outgoings, which equates to stress? Or are you happy to keep it roughly where you are and let it slowly grow, but get time back? And everyone's different. Once again, I'm not saying everyone has to look at that approach, but it's something to think about. So for where you're at currently, do you want to increase your income, or do you just want to get time back? Do you want to find ways to keep your income where it's at and just get an extra hour a day back, or an extra half an hour a day back? Once again, that's for you to think about. And then obviously, we got the 2 levels above that, which I won't dive onto too much, but it was obviously, you see people retiring young or old at any point, but just retirement. And they either do that with a basic quality of life where they may have to downsize house, downsize, decrease trips and expenses, or there's people who do it really fucking well. Like, I know people who have a couple of $1 million, whatever that looks like. And then there's obviously stupid rich, which we look at like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, who could never possibly spend all the money that they have. Right. And for me, though, that doesn't motivate me at all, probably why I'm not going to talk about it. But see, Cal, worthwhile thinking where you're at, okay, and what you want to get to in regards to that, because it doesn't matter where you're at. It's about going, okay, well, I'll accept where I'm at. And like I said, we're all going to be at different stages in this, but this is what I want to, this is where I want to grow to. And this is why I feel it's going to add value to my life. And then you can start putting the game plan around that. Does that make sense? Is there any questions on those, I guess, stages? They're not really stages, I guess, just points that I thought about.
Hey, Luck, real quick on the COVID lockdown. I think what that showed a lot of people, especially people who lost their jobs or lost their income, is that's what retirement could possibly look like. When you don't have anything, you don't have the ability to go out and earn any. So I think it gave us a really good look at that, and also gave us a good look at what we're really spending our money on, what's important, what matters. I mean, when you got down to it, if you had no money coming in, food mattered. A roof over your head mattered. And the other thing is, on the book, man, he keeps referring to NRs, the new rich. And I think that time also equates to wealth. You're wealthy in time. That's huge. Right now, that's where I'm at. I want more time. And that's what I'm working towards. And I never acknowledged it as being an important factor of wealth. So I appreciate you saying that about it.
Yeah. No, and thank you, Jim. And this is the thing, guys, when we look at wealth, it could be physical, it could be with your relationships. And this is what I mean. Like, money allows you to do that. If your pride and joy is your fucking family and you want to spend 23 hours a day with them, never met anyone who wants to do that. But if that's what it is, what amount of money allows you to do that? That's what it is to think about, because at the end of the day, we still have to eat. We still need shelter. We still need to use Zoom so you can come on these calls. Right, so there are some overheads that you need. Before Andy heads off, we'll quickly get a selfie, and then I'll quickly wrap this up. Go with our weekly shuffles. Guard Dog, do you want to get your mug in there, mate, or are you good? He's good. Oh, yeah, there he is. Look at him. The Italian stallion. Hi, boys, shuckers. Awesome. Righto. See you, Andy. Thanks for jumping on, boys. So I'll quickly give you some steps, but then I'll upload a whole new module in the group of things to think about. And when I put you in your WhatsApp groups, I'll be drip feeding questions for you guys that you can discuss amongst each other, but also do for yourself. Okay. And once again, none of it's financial advice. I'm not telling you how to make money or anything like that. I want you to start thinking differently for yourself. So for those who aren't where you want to be in that manner, you maybe can have some things that maybe strike your curiosity. You might go reading different books, doing different courses, or looking at different things to change that element of your life. Okay, so step one, and I'll post all of these in the group, is determine your number. Right? You don't know what you're working towards unless you know what the number looks like, because then you can work back. How do I get there? What does that look like? How many hours currently do I have to trade to get that number? Can I start working on a side hustle to bring in an extra $100 a week or something? Or how can I increase my hourly wage if I don't want to increase my time? All questions that are worth asking. Secondly, we address limiting beliefs or preconceived ideas around money. I grew up, my parents always said money doesn't grow on trees. So I had a scarcity mindset. I also had an idea of what I thought about rich people because of how my parents kept talking about them. Greed, ripping people off, all that sort of shit, right? So we all have limiting beliefs that can hold us back, which we need to address. And that'll be one of our tasks, which we're going to get a good list so we can see what people have got to discuss. Get a handle on your finances. Once again, listen to the podcast with Jim. It's a fucking cracker. But if you don't understand your incomings. If you don't understand your outgoings or overheads, where your money is being spent, that's probably a very good place to start. If you don't understand your taxes, or if you don't even have an accountant, probably once again, good places to start, because the reason why I think a lot of people, this is what I tell myself anyway, the reason why I haven't made my $1 million yet is because there are things that I need to sort out before I make the $1 million. Because if I lose however much money I've lost this year, I'd rather lose that amount rather than what I would lose had I not had the right things in place for $1 million. Does that make sense? So we need to
Playing not to lose.
What's that? Sorry?
Playing not to lose.
Exactly. Then we look at the short-term strategy for savings. So for building savings, what does that look like? Depending on where you're at, like for me, I think I had $10 a week going into a separate account back in the day. That adds up over time. Over a week, it's $520. What could you do with an extra $520? You might be able to pay for a course. You might be able to have 2 nights away. Right? So think about even that $10 adds up. Fifth, creating those buckets. So I personally use the Barefoot Investor buckets, like his strategy. If you haven't read that book or just Google his buckets, fucking really good. And then finally, which is what we do with everything, we evaluate and make changes based upon what's happening, what's working well for you. As your life changes, your financial situation changes, you can't keep using the same strategy you used back then that you're going to use moving forward. Because if you've got an extra $300 left over at the end of the week and you're still putting $10 away, chances are that $290 left there you're going to spend on dumb shit. Most of us do that when we look at our bank account. We go, ooh, $290. I'm going to go buy, I don't know, whatever. Make sense? So make sure you continually reflect and reevaluate as your situation changes. And once again, this is why I bang on about the game plan, because it's enough time to, if you don't want to do it weekly or monthly, you can at least do it quarterly. Does that make sense? Epic. Righto, gents. So I'll let you guys rip into the day, but I'll put everyone in their new WhatsApp group. So there will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 8 groups of 5. I don't know where all the 8 groups of 5 lads are this morning. Some probably sleeping in. I know some are going fishing, but thank you guys for showing up. Once I put you in your groups, obviously the same as always, connect at the start of each week, share what you're focusing on for the week, share what's not going well for you, what is going well for you, and try and link up a call. If you can get on a call with the group or even with just one individual within your group, you're building relationships and you're building a stronger network of men who want to be better. And that's what most of us need in our life. Okay, so anyone have any questions before we dive off? Not dive off, but jump off.
I'll just throw in on the savings thing, Lockie.
Yeah,
I'll put something on the group. Over in the UK, I'm sure you got something similar over there. We've got an app called Chip. There's a few other ones as well, and it actually monitors the spending of your bank account and makes like little saves, like without you knowing. Like just in perspective, like I've got mine set quite high, but in 4 years it's saved 13,500.
It's awesome.
In 4 years, and it's like it takes like 15-20 quid, twice a week out your account and puts it in a savings account, and it's like paid for half our wedding. Like it's like little apps like that. If you're really crap at saving, like I was, think that there's other tools out there that you can use. I'll put something on the group, but just for anyone that is rubbish, there is stuff out there that can help.
Thanks for sharing it. Yeah, there's one here in Australia called Pocket Book. All you do is link your bank accounts up to it, and it'll show you how much you're spending on food, eating out, all kinds of stuff. So you can see where your money's going. And once you get a good visual on that, it's pretty eye-opening. I know I waste a lot of money on fucking eating out.
There's
Anyway,
another
Jen.
one, Lockie. Sorry, there's another one called Raise, RAIZ, I think, and it rounds up to, like, if it's $9.95, it'll round up to $10 and take that 5 cents, and it just builds up really quick.
Yeah, it's an investor app though. It invests in the stock, like in funds.
Yeah, it
right?
does. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, gents. Have a great week. I'll see you guys in the circle group, and I'll post this recording. I'll post a bit more information on steps to think about based on where you're at, and then we'll see you next Friday.
Thanks,
Thanks,
a lot.
Paul.
Mate, catch
Too
up.
easy. See you, boys.
lads.